Voodoo Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of The Last of Us Part 1, aka the remake, which isn't a remake, it's really a remaster of The Last of Us for the PS5. I played it on the PS5. So let's get into the story. You play as Joel in a post-apocalyptic world where, the zombie fungus, the cordyceps, have migrated to humans. They turn humans violent, they turn them into all sorts of weird creatures, and they outright kill people. Joel is tasked with getting Ellie to the Fireflies, and the game is basically their journey to get there. There are plenty of twists and turns along the way. This game is one of the best storytelling games in the world. I think this is probably a perfect story, not necessarily a perfect game, but the storytelling is phenomenal in this game. There are small moments that are just so key, and they just give you so much about the characters. They use little bits of dialogue to just really build and develop Ellie and Joel's relationship. They just do a phenomenal job. Also, this being more or less the definitive edition of The Last of Us, they did include the DLC, which I'm not going to go into the details, but it does give you a lot of backstory to Ellie, which I do enjoy, and I think it adds to the game. It's one of those things that doesn't necessarily feel necessary, but it does add a good amount. So let's get into the audio, and the soundtrack for this game is amazing. It really just fits with the overall tone of everything in this game. The voiceover work is phenomenal. It's absolutely wonderful. There really isn't an instance of anyone doing a poor job. And then you've got the sound effects, which are all very, very, very well done. So let's get into the gameplay mechanics and whatnot, and this is a third-person action survival game. And as this is touted as a remake because they rebuilt really the graphics. Gameplay-wise, it really doesn't do the same stuff as the second game. There's a lot of stuff that you can do in the second game that they didn't bring over to this, so calling it a remake is a bit of a stretch from that element. But you got your sneaking, you got your shooting, you got your taking out of the bad guys. And what I do like is that you've got the infected, and then you've got human bad guys as well. And fighting them both provide their own different and unique challenges. There's a variety of infected that you need to handle in different ways. Sneaking about isn't always, well, it's generally the best way with humans and the infected, but man, it can go wrong, and then things get really interesting and different. The survival element is, when it comes to supplies, you need to craft medkits, craft other weapons. You can upgrade your guns, you need tools, and you need parts, and you have to go and find a bench. And that is one of the few places where this game did actually fuck me over. I don't know why. I don't know why this doesn't work right, but it did. I found the fourth upgrade tool, so I went and made some upgrades to my weapons. I had to leave, so I manually saved. I turned off everything. All my upgrades were gone, the new tool was gone, my parts had been used up, so it saved the fact that I used up my parts, but it didn't save the fact that I found a new tool or had upgraded my weapons. It fucked me, and it wouldn't let me go back and collect that tool. I could go into the room, but the tool was no longer there. So that actually really did annoy me because that fucked me over. Besides that though, I think the gameplay is good. I don't think it's perfect. I think the gameplay in the second game is better. So why they didn't bring that over to the first game since this was a remake, I don't understand. But let's get into the controls, and I think the controls are overall well done. I don't think they're perfect, but they are very good. They're well mapped out, they are responsive, the aiming could just be a tad bit better. It's not horrible, but it's also not perfect. And then last but not least, the graphics and visuals. Visually, this is very much a hyper-realistic game. They are trying to mimic real life, and this is the best looking version of The Last of Us. Hands down, bar none, it is fantastic. I mean, it's actually really impressive. They clearly took the time to make this the best looking version of the game. They've tweaked some of the facial animations, they've tweaked some of the faces to look more like the actors, I assume, which allows them to look better when the characters are emoting in the game. They've added more to the world around you to make it seem more realistic. They've added more foliage. They've put so much effort in. One of the moments that really blew my mind was I was just looking at a brick wall and I could see the texture in the mortar between the bricks. Like, not just the texture in the bricks, but in the mortar between the bricks. So this is truly a beautiful game. It's actually amazing. But I will say, I did run into a few weird visual moments, like Ellie went into a T-pose. There are a few times where the location of my character doing one of their moves didn't match the location of the enemy I was doing it on. I had a curving arrow at one point. There were just a few small things. They were never game-breaking, but they were noticeable and a little disappointing considering they put so much effort into making this the most beautiful version of the game. So having weird visual glitches was a little off-putting. So let's get into the wrap-up. I've seen a lot of things calling this a cash grab, and throwing that at Naughty Dog I think is unfair. Throwing that at Sony I think is totally fair. The reality of it is this doesn't add anything that is necessary. When they brought The Last of Us over to the PS4 from the PS3, did that remaster, it was a beautiful game. It was a beautiful game on the PS3. It was better on the PS4, and it's better looking now. But this doesn't add anything to the storytelling. It doesn't add anything to the gameplay. So it's not really even a remake. It's a visual overhaul, and it looks phenomenal, but it's not $70 phenomenal. If you have never played The Last of Us and you want to, I still wouldn't say get this. I would say get the PS4 version. Even if you're one of those people who's like, oh, graphics are the most important thing to me, the PS4 version still looks great. The Last of Us, absolutely worth playing. Absolutely. It is a near perfect game. It is an amazing game. It is a must play. But The Last of Us Part 1, PS5 Remake Edition, whatever you want to call it, not so much. That's actually fully worth skipping. Okay, so in the comments down below, why don't you tell me, what's your definition of a remaster versus a remake? And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. And if you like what I'm doing in general, share and subscribe. Have a good one.